Hey guys, Dr. Corey here. Wow, this is such a treat to have been asked to present uh, to all of you who are so eager to learn how to be at your best and to learn how you can implement the science of physiology and psychology and nutrition and mindset to not only improve your goal pursuits, but to improve your entire lives, right? So thank you. Um, it's a really exciting time in the industry because more and more research is now coming out that can really help us to amplify what we're after, and in so many different ways to become more whole human beings. So I wish I could be there with you. Callan, you put together a pretty incredible event, and wish I could be there with you, Dr. Joe and Dr. Helms. But my intention today, guys, it's to take you on a short foray into what it means to really master the mental game, okay? So we're going to be targeting 4 A's, ironically, 4 A's of peak performance, okay? And in fact, with each concept, I'm going to offer you a very specific practice, okay, that you can take into your daily lives immediately in order to begin honing those mental mastery skills. I think it's important to remember that these are skills, all right? You're not necessarily born with them. Skills are built, hence the word mastery, okay? And so to master something means that we engage in a deliberate practice, okay? And it's not just any sort of practice, because we can practice the wrong things, right? And not necessarily move any closer to being masters of something, masters of a craft. But deliberate practice, deliberate, that means conscious, it means aware. So it means we're engaging in something repetitively, okay? We're being consistent in our efforts. And it means that we're disciplined, okay? It means we're also receiving some sort of regular feedback. That's a very important piece of what deliberate practice is all about. We have to be receiving some sort of feedback, whether it's through tracking ourselves or it's through a guide, a coach, all right? Being able to tell us what we're doing well and what we could improve upon. We have to have some way of gauging how our performance is so that then we can be more deliberate the next time that we practice. Now, by doing this, okay, we are able to create mindset habits that shift how we move, all right, through the world, and that shift the manner in which we take the steps towards the most important outcomes that we've said we need to pursue in order to become better, all right? This is exciting. So let's go ahead and dig in. The first A, guys, of mental mastery is attitude. Attitude is the way that we dedicate ourselves to the manner in which we think. And you can also look at it as the manner in which we dedicate ourselves to the way we feel and the way that we behave. Attitude encompasses all 3 of those things. Now, we all have tendencies and we all have patterns in terms of the way that we think, but I want you to remember this in particular. Tendencies do not need to become actualities, all right? So there's another A for you, actualities. We as human beings are our energy governors, if you can imagine it that way, okay? What we focus on grows, right? Where our focus goes, energy flows, all right? So you tell me, if you think in a creative way, what are the consequences of that attitude? What happens next if you open up creatively to the possibilities? What happens if you open up to an attitude of curiosity? All right. What happens if you respond to something in a catastrophic way, with a catastrophic attitude? Now, we can look at it in terms of dichotomies, okay? We can look at things in a black and white manner versus a neutral manner. We can say, I can, or we can say, I can't. We can adopt an attitude where we're looking at something curiously, all right, and attentively versus responding in an automatic sort of way. We can also be resilient versus despondent, or we can look at what the alternatives are rather than making assumptions about a situation. These are the different types of attitudes that we can adopt, okay? Now your task, your task for the rest of this camp, as you move into the situations of your lives as well, is to practice saying, what attitude am I choosing, okay? And notice right now what attitude you're choosing as you listen to me. What is it that you're embodying right now? What attitude will you choose as you engage in conversations throughout the rest of the day and this evening with your peers? What attitude will you choose when your head hits the pillow tonight? You know, are you going to choose to adopt an attitude of excitement for what's to come? We have the power here to deliberately make a choice. Now you can choose an attitude of determination, okay? You can decide to choose an attitude of zest. You can choose an attitude of compassion. You can choose an attitude of assertiveness. You could choose an attitude of wonder. You could choose an attitude of gratitude. You could choose an attitude of patience. You could choose an attitude of enthusiasm. You guys getting my point here? There are many different attitudes that you can choose. Which one will you adopt? Now remember, your attitude can change at any minute. You could choose a different attitude now. You could choose a different attitude now. And you could choose a different attitude now. All right, here's the second A. Ready for this? The second A of mental mastery is attention. Pay attention. Attention is a type of awareness, all right? And we can ask ourselves, what am I paying attention to? Are you guys paying attention to the movement of my lips right now? Or are you paying attention to the words that I'm conveying and the meaning of the statements that I'm making? Or are you paying attention to the background of my video? Okay, we can redirect our attention at any one time, but we have to get good at noticing where it's at in the first place. Okay. As I said, at any one time, our attention is on something. Okay. We may be in the middle of a conversation with someone and our attention is not at all on what the person is saying. Okay. Instead, our attention may be on what the next meal is going to be, or what we just ate, or the sensation that we're experiencing of our butts in the hard chair. Hopefully you guys have soft chairs. You guys get my point. Another way we can look at attention is by asking, where am I allowing my attention to land? All right, and this conveys some consciousness as well. Think of it this way. We have a food diet, all right? And this is what we consume, of course, in the form of macronutrients, micronutrients. But we also have a thought diet, and this is what we consume that will directly shape the manner in which we feel, in which we think, and in which we behave. So where we let our attention land at any one time influences our perceptions of the world and the perceptions of ourselves and the perceptions of the circumstances that we're in and the situations that we find ourselves. If I'm constantly, for example, if I'm constantly looking at pictures of other physique athletes and I'm comparing myself to them, I'm choosing where my attention is going. okay? Here's a reflection for all of you. Is what you are paying attention to in your service? Okay, this is a really important question. Go back to the first A. Go back to attitude for a second. What attitude does doing so, okay, say that you're scrolling through your social media feed. What attitude does scrolling through your social media feed prompt? Think of attitude as energy. What do you notice in your body? What do you notice in your mind? Is what you're experiencing attitude-wise, energy-wise, is it energizing? Is it uplifting? Is it enthusiasm that you feel rising up inside of you? Excitement? Or do you feel mentally drained and mentally fatigued and you can feel your body just kind of collapse? There's a massive difference, and this is what I use in my own life to understand whether what I'm letting my attention land on is in my service. I can feel my body either contract and get rigid, okay, kind of feel myself close down. Or if it is in my service, I can feel myself open up and I can feel myself expand. I can literally feel my mind clear, see the clearing in my mind and become more curious and open and inquisitive. Okay, this is a level of awareness that takes some practice to get used to. All right, and it really helps us understand who we are as human beings and how we respond or react to things. Now, the third piece of this is to begin recognizing how I'm paying attention. Okay, let's use food as an example again. How do I eat? When I eat, do I just eat? Okay. Do I listen and just listen when I'm engaged in a conversation? When I'm writing an email, am I only concentrating on the structure and the content of that email? Or am I listening to music or trying to listen to someone else who's talking to me at the same time? Mental mastery, guys, means developing a very high quality of attention. So here, I'm going to repeat the 3 questions that are really important for you to begin asking yourselves so that you can become more aware of your thoughts and where your attention is going. So number 1, what am I paying attention to moment to moment? Okay. 2, where do I let my attention land? And literally, what do you spend your time attending to? What do you spend your time paying attention to? Take stock throughout the day. Where is your time being spent? Literally, that's your attention. That's your focus. Is it being spent on things that are generative and in your service and pointing you towards becoming the self that you can be proud of, that's developing your character? All right. And number 3 is, how am I paying attention? What's the quality of my attention? Is it diffuse and dispersed kind of all over the place and I'm trying to multitask, which we can't, okay? Or is it targeted and real focused on just one thing? And when I notice that it wanders off, okay, I can snag it and bring it back. Target, all right? It becomes a discipline to be able to notice and bring it back, and notice and bring it back, and oh, it went over here, bring it back. It's kind of like raising a kid. I don't have experience raising a kid. I have experience raising animals, though. And some of you would probably argue they are animals, but you get my point. They're all over the place, and we have to constantly be bringing them back and be patient with ourselves in the process, because our minds naturally wander, but we can learn to more quickly notice when they wander off and bring it back. Okay, here's the 3rd A, guys. The 3rd A of mental mastery is attribution. All right. Here's what attribution is. Attribution is how we ascribe meaning to the circumstances and the events and the situations of our lives, all right? So say I get done with this talk, and as you're engaged in the Q&A that follows, one of you guys asks Joe a question, and he pauses for a long time before he begins to answer. Do you attribute that long span of time, and just to kind of play off this too, long for each one of you is going to have a different meaning. Long for one of you may seem short to another. Again, this is part of attribution. But do you attribute that pause as an indication that your question was stupid? Or that your question was silly? Maybe you're thinking, man, he paused for so long because he couldn't even make sense of what I said. Does the pause mean nothing to you at all? Maybe you're just like, okay, I'm waiting for him to answer. Do you attribute the pause to Joe's thoughtfulness and his care, okay, in wanting to really craft the best reply? Or do you attribute the pause to the waft of air that came down from the air conditioner, and it kind of shocked him and he couldn't concentrate? There could be so many ways that you attribute the pause, right? You get my point? So let's give another example. Let's say that you miss your lift. All right, I know we have a lot of power lifters and physique athletes who train a lot in this audience. You miss your lift at your next meet, or just at your next workout, or you trip as you're walking across the stage. Do you attribute that event to your worth in some way? Your worth as a human being? I don't know what. Why did I even think I could do that well anyway? You know, or do you attribute it to just needing more practice? This is something that I need to work on more deliberately. All right. So you go home and you watch the video and you assess for both what you did well and what you could improve upon. Different types of attribution. Now, what we see is that some of those attributions are external and some of them are internal, okay? Attribution is really related to our worldviews and whether we have an internal locus of control or an external locus of control, right? Do we take compassionate responsibility, or do we place blame on others and or on the circumstance itself, on the world, right? Because when we place blame, there's really nothing that we can do about it, right? We're left stuck. And the consensus is that we are who we are and we can't change. We can't grow if we're in that place of the world is as it is and I'm a pawn in it, and you know what happens happens. Okay, does this sound kind of familiar? Many of you familiar with Dr. Carol Dweck. I've talked about her extensively. She's an intelligence researcher and she's also the author of Mindset. Probably one of the best books any of you could ever read. Many of you probably have. But what she really brilliantly articulates are the differences in individuals who operate on with a fixed mindset versus a growth mindset, all right? And those with a fixed mindset attribute their intelligence in a different way than those with a growth mindset. Someone with a fixed mindset attributes difficulty or hardship, okay, or mistakes to a lack of intelligence. And that's not something that will change. I was just born this way. That's their view. I am the way that I am. Now, on the other hand, those with a growth mindset understand that intelligence is built, okay, through practice. And they view difficulty as challenging and fun, all right? And they attribute the shift in intelligence to effort, all right? I must not have put enough effort into this in order to do that well. How can I do it a different way but better? These are the questions someone with a growth mindset would ask. What am I doing wrong? How can I shift this in order to up my game? Now, my question for you to implement for this A attribution is this. What are all that you can think of, all the contributing factors associated with this outcome? Okay, whatever it is, whatever goal you guys are engaged in currently, whatever habits you're working on developing, if something that isn't ideal occurs, or when things occur that you're very proud of, that you feel awesome about, this is one of the best questions you can ask yourself. What are all the contributing factors associated with this outcome? We want to land on all the strengths, okay, or the deficits, the things that we could look at and make a difference in. This assumes, too, this question, that you're going to identify things within yourself and things within your external environment, all right? So that's your question. What are all of the contributing factors, okay, that influence this outcome, positive or negative? All right, we are on the fourth A of mental mastery, and it's this: agility. I love this word. Okay, so you guys may have heard the term behavioral flexibility, right? And I know you've heard the term structured flexibility today. If you haven't, I would put an attitude of curiosity on right now and really focus all your attention on attributing the cause of your ignorance around that topic, structured flexibility, to Dr. Joe. And then accost him because he has some work to do in explaining what that is. It's not super confusing, but it's awesome. Okay, so I like to use the term agility as it pertains to mental mastery because to me, it conveys coordination, right? It conveys like quickness and alertness and an ability to shift and move back and forth, okay? An agile mindset is one that views hard differently. Now, imagine having an attitude of enthusiasm, okay, for hard versus an attitude of discouragement because you didn't get something right the first time. You know, when I started road cycling, I had to learn how to clip in and clip out of my pedals. And I fell more than a few times out of the gate. I have the scars to prove it. Now, each time I fell, I would ask myself as I was getting up, what can I learn from this? What exactly did I do wrong? How do I need to position myself differently, right? Now, I can't say that I wasn't a little agitated at the same time, but being agitated, I remember thinking this as I'm getting off the ground. I'm thinking, Corey, this is the perfect opportunity to practice your agility. Okay, so with each bruise and each scrape and each small drop of blood that I would notice on my body, I became more engaged, okay? Not less. Someone with a fixed mindset would become less engaged. They'd tune out. They'd want to avoid the situation. So I could say, this is hard. There's a little bit of anger welling up inside of me at the same time, but I can say that like with some positive energy underneath it. This is hard. A little bit of excitement, a little less frustration, okay? But that's a choice. It was a choice I was making in the moment. Now, hard as I see it, guys, remember this. I love acronyms. I haven't given you a bunch of them today, but here's one that I want to take you to take with you. HARD is having awareness, resilience, and determination. HARD is fortifying, okay? It's building you up. It is crafting incrementally your structure, okay? Your character. How much of a difference do you think it could make in your agile mindset if you viewed HARD in that way? All right. Ask yourselves. When I pose questions, guys, these are genuinely questions that I want to encourage you to reflect upon when you go home later tonight, when you have a little bit of quiet time. Really, really reflect, and maybe ask too, how have I responded to HARD in the past? How do I want to respond to HARD? How am I going to commit to responding to HARD now? Here's why this is important, because a mindset that is agile, that can switch easily from, for example, assertive to vulnerable, or from compassionate to curious, to appreciative or zestful. It makes us more adaptable. An agile mindset is adaptable. There's another A for you. More than 4 A's today. The question that can really open you up to developing that mental agility is this: what is one action I might take to approach this situation as an opportunity? You heard in my story how in that moment when I'm on the ground and I'm beginning to feel frustration well up in my body, that was my cue. That was my cue to say, oh, Corey, this is an opportunity. You feel that inside of you? Yeah, right there. This is hard. This is hard. Hard, and I'm nodding yes, not this is hard. Okay, big difference in what we create, the energy that we manifest in our bodies as a result of the manner in which we think, okay? An agile mindset is set towards leaning in. Man, I just noticed that I did that like spontaneously. That wasn't staged. As I was talking to you guys. It's geared towards leaning in instead of backing away when we feel some sort of discomfort, okay? We view the difficult as challenging to engage more rather than threatening. And here's how I imagine another, put this in your mind, in your memory banks. This image is like doing a back bend over a barrier. That's agility right there. It's not running into a barrier and stopping and sitting down and being like, I can't. You guys, all of you have the capacity within you to achieve your most lofty goal pursuits. All right. One thing might add to accelerate your progress with this, and that's to align with other people. All right. Just like you are here. There's an energy in the room with you guys right now because you are together. I can't tell you how often I've been in situations where there are groups of people and we all have, for the most part, very, very similar sort of mindsets and worldviews, and we're all there for similar reasons. And man, that energy builds, okay? So surrounding yourselves with people who you understand are going to be there to lift you up and push you forward and create that forward moving momentum that you're needing so badly. That's super, super important, guys. So that there's another A. Acceleration is just primary here. Accelerating your progress through the acquisition, there's another A, of support, all right? Now, in doing so, you not only feel that higher level of energy and enthusiasm because of that shared energy, but you gather new ideas, and you have awesome opportunities to shift your perceptions about things and to step out of your biases and the boxes that you that you typically live in, because we get so used to thinking in one way, and it's like we're traveling down the same highway every day. And I could go into the value of novelty, but we need to switch things up, and being with other people helps us do that. The other thing, though, is that we have an opportunity to contribute, and we know from the research that mastering the mental game has a lot to do, and being really consistent and persistent with our goal pursuits has a lot to do with how we see ourselves contributing in a powerful way to the lives of other people. Sometimes we need to take ourselves out of the center, okay, and recognize that there are these other masses of people, very important people, that can benefit from the energy and the attitude that we are embodying and the information that we put out into the world. All right. So, gosh, this has been fun, guys. Thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure, and I hope that you can take this information with you and really apply it to your lives, because it's translatable. This does not just relate to you guys being athletes. It relates to every role in your life, and you can apply it to any responsibility that you have. So please reach out, guys, if you have questions or you have comments. You can email me at Kori, Kori, @thedietdoc.com. I'm also on all the social media channels, so please follow me, reach out that way. And you guys have fun and bring the energy. Choose your attitudes wisely for the rest of the time that you're there. All right, guys. Thank you. Take care.